proof of how little I've done it is I couldn't remember either. Although I see the
Yeah.
things on there now, so we're
Yeah, here we
good.
go. Uh, so my name is Spencer, Mr. Campbell Reviews. We're here with Rob, Fizz, Oink, the creator of, uh, arguably, in my opinion, I think a lot of people's opinion, the best Amazon influencer extension slash app out there. Um, I know you agree because you use it every day and you created it.
Well, I look, you know this about me, and I know and a lot of people know this about me, is I have a hard time accepting nice words that are said in my direction. I certainly appreciate whenever they get said. It's the tool that I use, which is I'm not, I'm biased probably, I guess, also at the same time, but yeah, I'm trying, man. I appreciate whenever you say stuff like that, or people say stuff about, even if they don't say it's the best, even if they say it's good, it still blows my mind that it's a thing that exists that I created that took off the way that it did. So no, I appreciate those kind words. And to your audience, I told Spencer this whenever we got on. I'm chilling tonight. This is my
It's
first, and this is how comfortable I am with you too, man. I don't feel like it's because sometimes you get on a call, and I think that your vibe on your TikTok stuff and the way that you're just so sort of like easy, the way that you talk to people and they respond to that, I feel sort of like that kindred spirit with you as well, where there's not really any fluff. It can just be the thing that we need to talk about, the topic, and everything else sort of becomes peripheral. So this is actually the first one I've ever done where I've laid on my couch and I'm just going to sit here and chill out. So I
no,
did,
it's
I did it.
crazy. It's
I did ask permission in case
no,
anybody's
it's
ever wondered that I showed up, and I'm just like doing this with, I did check and make sure it was okay. And Spencer said
no,
it
it's
was okay.
totally cool. And it's funny because I'm just in my office because it's the quietest place in my house away from all my kids that are running around. They got friends over and doing stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so let's talk a little bit about, I mean, I think this comes up in lives a lot and just with people. Um, there's a kind of Gen X mentality, and I don't want to label everybody and ruin anybody that's not a Gen Xer about you're just gonna solve the problem. You're gonna figure it out to solve the problem.
Yeah.
So when you talk about Oink, there are regular things that come up, whether it's Amazon, Google extensions, updates, all of that stuff. At what point do you, if ever, do you spend, and I know you're there now, but that you're like, I cannot be an Amazon influencer anymore. This extension and all of the people, and I know it's not the extension, it's the people that use it and the people that you care about, right? I know that's why you
Yeah.
do it. It's because of the people.
Yeah.
Do you say, okay, I got to make this the full-time thing, or I've got to hire somebody to do this, to do that, or like at what point? I mean, are you there yet? Because you're doing both.
Yeah, I'm not there, and I don't want to be there, to be honest with you, man. I feel like part of the reason that Oink is done well is because I am an Amazon influencer, and I see things through that lens. I was doing the program for 2 years before I launched Oink, and then when I made it for just myself, and I saw what it was doing for me, if I ever stop putting focus on the influencer program, I feel like I'll lose that thing that gave me insight into some of the stuff that needs to happen. Like even just today, I'm literally testing something right now that I saw happening in real time. My wife was actually doing, and I was just like, I gotta fix that. Like that isn't, as I looked at it, I've never seen that. And I think that if I don't pay attention anymore and I'm just looking at it from the software side of stuff, I think that I lose that. And to be honest, I think that I would lose some credibility with the community. I think part of the reason the community likes me or tolerates me, maybe sometimes is the best, is because I'm one of them. Like I'm not a software guy. I'm not a person trying to like sell them on a software that doesn't understand what they do or how to make them successful. I am that thing first that has a tool that contributes to that. So, I mean, there's definitely parts of me that struggle with on a time basis where I feel like I should be spending more time more on the uploading part, probably on like the physical part of it, but I never really want to detach from it any more than I probably am right now, because part of me just also likes it. I love competitions, part of it. I like fighting for carousel slots and figuring out like what I can do to try to beat somebody else. I've always just kind of been like that. Like I've always sort of had a weird chip on my shoulder that I will play a game sometimes that even if I don't like it, if I think there's a chance to get one over on somebody sometimes, and the influencer program is a giant competition whenever it comes down to it, although friendly, generally speaking, in most cases, like it's still something where I feel like I like competing. And so I hope that to be honest, I'd like to spend more time probably doing it just because it's, frankly, it's just a passion. And Oink is too. There's no doubt about it. But I think that
Right.
there's probably a time coming where I'll be able to level those out a little bit better and do more influencing stuff. I mean, I'm still doing it every day. I would like to do it
Right.
maybe about twice as much as I am now.
Right. So talk about those 2 years, because I had a similar 2 years. They probably weren't the same because you figured out something really, really quick. Well, maybe not really quick,
Well,
but
yeah, yeah.
tho
Comparatively,
those
for some, yeah.
those 2 years, when did creator connections come into your mind and you're like, "I'm gonna start messaging these brands," like the copy and paste thing that we were doing. And when I say you and me, I think a lot of people were kind of starting out just doing legit copy and paste a message for 15, 20 minutes every night to get those brands to send stuff. Like, at what point where you're like, "There's gotta be an easier way."
Well, I mean, Creator Connections was a little bit of a mystery to the on-site people. I mean, off-site knew that they were using it, but Amazon's customer support was telling us that it's not for on-site for the influencers. So we didn't look at it really like, and so even as like recently as the beginning of 2025, so it's barely over a year ago, maybe slightly at the end of 2024. Um, you know, I didn't really kind of get it. Whenever I passed $10,000 in the first month, like $300 of that was creator connections, and it was just I didn't know what I was doing, and so like I wasn't strategic. It just I was grabbing a few things here and there, and I was just like, I don't know if this is going to help or if it's going to do really anything. So I didn't really grasp that it applied to us until probably February or so. That feels a bit, probably January or so of last year. And in January or so last year, maybe it was December, I created a code. I don't know if you remember this. It was a code that you could copy and paste into Chrome that would do your cross check for you. So it would scan your whole storefront, literally like manually scrolling through your storefront in automated increments and pulling the products from your storefront. And so it had all of those IDs, and then you put those IDs into another code, and you took that code to Creator Connections, and you also pasted that. And so like that was at the very very end of 2024, beginning of 2025. And so even though I grasped the power of it at that point, I didn't get into any of the messaging or anything until much later than a lot of other people did. And to be honest, I didn't care about the messaging at all until I started working on the messaging for Oink. Oink already existed for several months before I started looking at working on the messaging part of that whole system, because other people were just like, "Hey, is this a thing that you can do?" And I was like, "Sure, but why do you want?" It didn't even register to me that it was a thing that was. And so that's whenever I got into the messaging part. And so I did it. I started doing it basically because the community was asking for it. Now, obviously, in retrospect, I can see how valuable that thing is, and
Right.
strategically how much of an impact that can have. But that part of it for me was not something that was inherently as obvious as some of the other stuff that I end up seeing. That's a lot of times why I rely on the community to give me feedback on kind of what they're seeing. So
Right.
I was like, I remember I messaged this my buddy Jared Bowman. He does this thing called Niche Pursuits. Niche Pursuits. It's a really good
It's
podcast. And
it's huge, and it was originally owned, like, wasn't it Spencer?
Spencer,
Something, and
yeah,
then yeah, it was
Spencer was in there. Well, it was funny. So I started following them during my blogging days, and like whenever the
okay.
Google helpful content update, I started following those guys. So I've been fans, and one day Jared's name popped up on my Oink subscriber list out of the blue, and I was just like, no way that this dude is a thing. So I reached out to him. I'm like, hey, like legit, is this a thing? But I had sent Spencer or Jared previous to that, when I made my first $300 in a month on Creator Connections, I was like, hey, I don't know if you guys know about this Creator Connection thing, but this actually works for your storefront. And I thought that was such a big deal that I got $300 off of it. In the meantime, it was just such a gray area, for what it was. And so it took me a little bit to kind of get there. Obviously, now it's like a centerpiece for everything that goes on, but I eventually figured it out.
That's awesome. So for those of you that don't know, probably I've got to say '07, '08, '09, maybe 2010, there was a website that popped up called Niche Pursuits by a guy named Spencer. And one of the coolest things that I ever remember him doing was he did a website where he was growing the website, Own the Yard or something like that. So he built a website basically as a pilot to show everybody else how to do the thing that he was teaching on Niche Pursuits. I think if that's what it was, I remember. And he ended up selling that for like lots and lots of money. And all it was an Amazon affiliate site where they were reviewing products and putting stuff that is in your yard on, and it would just link back to Amazon. And that's the first time I remember seeing it. And so when I became a teacher, I started just reviewing books and putting like classroom stuff on my blog. And it was not nearly as much as he was making. But so when people were like, "How long have you been an affiliate?" I was like, 2010, maybe. It
Yeah.
was like, um, and when I tell people, do you remember when the cookie used to be like 30 days
Yeah.
or like a month? It was just, that boggles my mind right now. Like that used to be a thing.
But you know, it's wild. I ended up getting to do the Niche Pursuits podcast too, because after I reached out to Jared when I saw he was an Oink guy, he's like, "You want to come on?" I was like, "Do I want to come on? Like, what do you like?
That's
Yes,
amazing.
please." It was such a, and I kept telling him like, "Dude, it's so crazy that I'm here." You know, because blogging for me was like my introduction to making money from home. That whole world, it's such a big world, and it all seems so fake. You know what I mean? Like, it seems like none of it's like, if you're on the outside looking in, you're just like, no, there's no way. Common sense would tell you no. And so I took a risk on blogging, and it panned out. And so, it just goes to show that sometimes saying yes to something, that even if it doesn't necessarily make sense to us, doesn't mean that it doesn't make sense. It's just that sometimes
Right.
we can't see some things sometimes. So yeah, it was a very much a full circle moment for me, or at least maybe a full circle of that circle leading into like whatever next circle I was currently on. Because yeah, he's still an Oink guy. It's still so strange for me to say that.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So without getting into the details, how many people have downloaded, how many people use Oink?
I think I'm almost at 8,000 downloads, and then I'm at around a 50% pro subscriber. Maybe it's like 45% pro subscriber rate. I don't know exactly what
Okay.
what the rate is there. Again, I'm surprised. I'm surprised with it 1 year. Is basically what happened there. So, I think that my subscriber rate is higher than a lot of other subscription services, and I think for me that just speaks kind of back to like the effort and the thought that I put into the tool and just trying to make it good. I made it affordable for people at the beginning. People were like, "You could charge more," and I'm like, "I know, but I also know what this base is. I know what the people are that are doing this, and a lot of these people are doing this program because like their life sucks and they're trying to just figure out how to make it better a little bit. And I'm not over here just trying to go, what do I get out of them? Like that's not as an influencer guy first, that doesn't feel right for me to do that. So I've tried to keep it, considering that it consumes my life. I priced it in a way where, and I even said early on that as features came in, I would be just increasing the price over time. And I just got to the point where I stopped because I just felt like, like where it's at right now, I just don't want to. I just don't want to, especially with the recent changes that had happened. I don't feel like there's a place for me to do that. So I'm really comfortable kind of with the subscriber base and the rate that people seem to be buying into it and the price where it's at. I feel no need to raise it. I mean, if people want me to real bad, I guess like I could, but I'm really happy with the way that things have turned out so far.
It's amazing. One of the things that you mentioned earlier that I absolutely love, there was two things that you mentioned earlier. One is that you're still active in the program. So when people ask me, so for those that are unclear, they shouldn't be, but I promote Oink all the time. It is
Thank you.
literally, I remember the month I got it. Um, there were some other kind of things. I remember seeing the copy and paste code, but I didn't actually jump in until September. So I haven't even been in a year yet. September to October was double.
Yeah.
October to November was double. And this was also a great time of year. I mean, let's
Yeah.
be honest, the fourth quarter was amazing.
It's good.
Um, and then from November to December, I remember talking to my wife and she's like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, I think we're gonna hit this mark this month." She's like, "What do you mean this month?" And I'm like, "Just in December." She thought I was talking about the whole year. And I'm like, "No, no, no. I think we're gonna hit five figures in the month of December." And she's like, and I remember it very vividly where we were upstairs and she's like, "What can I do to help?" And I was like, "You can help me review videos because I do not have time." And so we're pretty strategic about it. I know you and your wife do some things together, but the part I wanted to ask you about is you've got this big community. At what point do you decide, "Okay, I've had 50 people request this thing, maybe I should look at it." Like, you probably get the one-offs like, "Oh, I want little confetti to come on my screen when I get a sale," right? And then you're like, "Oh, well, there's that thing over there to do that." And now we can't do that at all because of Halo sales. But
Yeah.
at what point do you decide, "You know what? That's something I should probably look at?"
It's a fine line sometimes because sometimes really good ideas come from like a single person that saw something that nobody else saw, like, and those are valid too. The problem is when people want certain things to happen, it's because they typically have seen them somewhere else, right? That something else has happened somewhere. Um, and so for me, what I have to do is I have to juggle and ask myself, is this fluff or is this something that actually moves the needle? Because one of the hardest parts about this program is staying focused because there's a lot of things going on. Amazon's moving a lot of pieces. There's a lot of this in the groups about what you should not be doing and the rules or whatever, what people's interpretation of things. And so I have to, on one hand, try to deliver things that are going to move the needle for people, but on the other, help people stay on track with the things that actually matter. And if I continually either fill Oink up with things that don't actually move the needle simply for the sake of like the optics or because people want them, then I'm not doing them a service for the money that frankly that they're paying me for. Right. Even though they may not understand that, basically I'm distracting them from making more money in those particular cases. So it's a little bit of a fine line. Have always said I'm open to being convinced. Like, for example, people wanted the quote unquote total influencer video count on products, right? Because two of the other extensions had that at that point. And I see you laughing because you already know what my opinion is of this and how it's
Yeah,
not a real
I
number.
know it's coming. It's okay.
And
Yeah.
so, that was probably the only time that I'll say I folded on something. Oink is in a weird spot because I have to listen to the people that are paying for it, and if they have something that they want to have happen, I have to be cognizant of that while trying to walk that line of keep them focused on things. So it is hard sometimes. I don't want to just do something for the sake. When I was in the blogging world, I signed up for a whole bunch of different SEO tools, and I would open them up. I'm just like, man, I'm never going to use most of this stuff. And I knew that I wasn't. And even if there was a few things of value in there, I was usually there for one core set of features, and the other stuff was sort of whatever. And we know that in this program, in order to succeed, it really only requires being consistent at a very core set of features. It doesn't mean other things can't come up, but so yeah, it's a little bit of a juggling act sometimes, but I try to listen to all of it. I still am probably heavy-handed on my opinion of what I put in there. Just because people ask for it, I'm still more likely to not do it if I truly feel in my heart that it is not going to help. But I'm also trying to get out of my own way, and just because I don't see something sometimes doesn't mean, like we said earlier, doesn't necessarily mean that it's not legit. Maybe I just can't see it because of my own short-sightedness at that point. But I love that. My friend Sonia sent me a feature request tonight, on something. And I have usually about one request a day from somebody coming in, and most of them I look at and I consider it for a little bit. Um, it's part of the thing of having a deliverable that a lot of people use now. You have to listen to the audience.
So going back to the Amazon influencer program, right before you started, right? So you probably made a little bit of money with blogging and affiliates and stuff like that. Was there a moment when it clicked for you and you were like, okay, I think I can make six figures doing this? Or
On
did that come
the
like
blogging part,
just like right before you go, because if I remember right, you got laid off from your job and that's when you decide you're going to go full into Amazon influencer, or I can't remember the timing of all that,
well,
but
I'm not sure that I thought I was going to be honest, I didn't know what I was gonna do at that point because the world felt like chaos. And that phrase of saying I'm going full time in the Amazon influencer program sounds nuts. It sounds like you know there, it doesn't sound super nuts to me because it's the world I live in. But if you say it to a spouse that does not live in that world, you sound like you've lost your mind, basically. And so, um, I mean, The blogging thing was interesting for me because it was proof of concept that some of this stuff can actually work. I was making about $6,000 a month by the time that it all came crashing down. So it did really good. And so I knew I could do good. I knew that I'm a good learner. I'm stubborn. I'm consistent. And so with this program thing, even at that point, whenever I lost my job, I knew it was a safety net, minimally short term, because at that point I was making enough as an influencer to replace my salary job. I mean, I was making six figures a year on the salary job, but I've been doing very well at the program. And so that was able to slide in there. A lot of people don't have that. I was very, very fortunate that I'd been basically working it as a second job for the previous 2 years that allowed that to happen. But was there ever a point where I thought it would turn into a six-figure thing? I've never been a great predictor at where things are going to go. I think a lot of times whenever it comes to that stuff, because one, I know it's all unpredictable and anything can happen at any time. And just as soon as I start counting my money, something could come along and burn all that money up very quickly. So I'm very aware that I'm just sort of in the moment of that stuff. But I am very aware of potential, that these things are real. And you and I, we're just regular people living the best that we can is in a world trying to be kind to people. Like we're one of billions of people and we do this. And it's like, turns out you don't have to be a mega influencer, or famous or a celebrity. Just be a regular person and this stuff can actually work. So more than sort of being able to look down the road and go, I can make six figures, even though I still play that game certainly a little bit. I'm much more aware of potential now than I am of anything else, and going, let's see where this can go. And I think that that's probably one of my strong suits, of not putting a destination on stuff so much, but more just like, let's ride this thing and shoot for the moon and see what happens. I wasn't like that all the time.
Right. So understanding like the reality of the situation, the current reality, there's multiple people. I think there's multiple people that we are unaware of that are doing really well. There's also multiple people that you and I are both aware of, and it's kind of a smaller circle-ish, I guess, of people. But understanding that, what is one like major misconception that people have about making serious money, right? Like whether it's on site, off site, there's this, I was just on a live with you, you jumped on and we were talking with some people. There are people that are at the very, very beginning. What is a misconception that they have, or maybe a stumbling block that they don't see yet, and it's hard for you to tell them what it is because they're going to have to wait till they get there? Like they have to hit their own stumbling block.
Part-time effort gets you full-time money. That's the biggest one. It is because if you watch TikTok, you'll still see people that say make really good money just making product review videos. And I'm like, it's a little short-sighted. It feels a little, like in theory, there is truth in that statement, but it is not a part-time effort, full-time money situation. I mean, it's not a full-time effort, but it's more than just a little bit of a side hustle thing. Like if you're somebody that thinks, it's a set it and forget it situation. And, very, because we kind of came out of an era where a lot of the make money from home stuff had that connotation to it, where it's just like, I hardly have to do anything. I'm living in the lap of luxury. And so there was sort of, and the majority of that stuff was scammy, but it was all new to us. And so with the introduction of the internet, we learned, it took us a while to kind of learn that, listen, a lot of stuff was scammy, but this had a lot of that connotation to it for a lot of people because it was connected to making money from home. But that's the number one misconception, is that people may not necessarily understand what's required from an effort standpoint to get out of this program what it is that you want to get out of. And you don't have to understand it at the beginning, what it's going to require, as long as you understand that it is going to require more than winging it every once in a while. I had a guy in one of the Facebook groups, it's probably 6 months ago, and he was frustrated. And he said, I'm touching this thing a few times a week. I'm not making very much money. And people jumped on him like, what do you mean you're touching this a few times a week? Like there's 7 days in a week. What are you touching it 3 times out of the 7 days? You're getting 3 day a week money out of it, basically, is kind of what you're getting. So that'd be the thing that I want most of the newbies to maybe just understand up front, and then work, and then just start working from there. But you're going to be disappointed if you come in thinking like, I'm gonna make $1,000 a month touching this twice a week. It's probably not going to happen.
Right. So understanding that, and the Amazon landscape world, whatever we want to call it, like guidelines change, commissions change, video placements move. Uh, there's things that are happening. How have you been able to maintain a pretty stable, uh, I don't want to say high earning, but a stable, uh, high earning, well-to-do business when the platform is constantly changing? I mean, I've talked with people. I'm like, if you're watching TikTok videos from before January of 2025, the
Yeah.
information that you're getting is faulty. Even my own information
Yeah.
before the stuff changed, before Halo sales disappeared, I was telling people about it, and now I'm like, I should probably go delete those videos because they're misleading people
What they should be
down
doing.
the wrong path, right? But
Yeah.
how do you manage that?
Consistency. I think that's it. I think that this goes back to the idea, and I've said this before, that I've never seen this program fail people that are consistent at it. Even if you have lulls or whatever the case is, it's like, with all those changes that happened, what didn't change for me was my continued consistency on a daily basis to find ways to win at this. I didn't take a lot of time, like with the I don't want to say woe is me because it sounds like I don't want to demean anybody that felt like that, because I understand that it sucked to have the drops and all that kind of stuff. But it didn't cause me to change anything I was doing. In fact, I started almost immediately looking around and going, where's the angle now? Because anytime that Amazon changes something, one door closes and another door opens. And they're just ushering in something new. And so, like anything else they're giving us the game plan. So here's the landscape. And so all we have to do is the same thing we did before. And you look at the landscape and go, what do we got to do now? What do we got to do to win at this? And immediately I started looking around and I was like, comparison videos. I'm slapping them around like crazy. Actually, within like that week that stuff started to change, I was like, you want to make more videos? And if you want to make more money with these changes, you already have these products in your house. Start doing comparison videos. You'll make more videos. Amazon loves comparison videos. Buyers love them, etc. I've done more comparison videos in the last 2 months than I think I probably did the 2.5 years prior. And I'm sitting here cooking at almost 10K a month on just creator connections alone, like, because I didn't slow down. I went back and started doing more follow-up videos on the products I had already done in the past, right? So if I did a video 6 months ago, I'd go and I'd find that product again. And now this time I'm turning my camera up and down like this, like, hey, I just want to tell you guys why I'm using this thing 6 months after I did my original video and what you need to know about it, right? And so for me, that's the way that I was able to maintain, and I tightened up my strategy. Like I went to like, look, I don't play around with non-creator connection products anymore. Like if I was at 70% creator connection products before, I need to be at like 85% just to make up for some of these differences. And I have had, between creator connections and my Amazon influencer program, if you look at my totals now, they're not much different than they were back in August of last year. That's before the holiday stuff hit, which was an anomaly, right? But like, so I mean, now granted, my Amazon influencer side stuff dropped, like because of the rate decreases, but my creator connection stuff went up. And so all I did was pivot. Again, I just looked at the new landscape that they were delivering to us, and I thought, what do I need to do here in order to continue to win? And I was like, here's this. Start making these types of videos. Be more strict and committed to the strategy that I'm doing. Say no to more products that are not selling, even though I probably shouldn't have been saying yes to those anyways. That's all it is. I just pivoted. And stayed committed to the process.
So you talked about this a little bit earlier. You're super competitive, but what is your favorite part about not the Amazon influencer program, but the process? Is it the hunting for products, the unicorns? Is it the free stuff is cool, but at a certain point, it's not cool anymore when you have so much stuff that you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like, what is it for you that you're just like, I love this part of it?
Yeah, the free stuff lost its shine for me probably about a year and a half ago, where I'm just like, you now, at the beginning, the free stuff, I've talked about this in some of my videos, as a kid that came up in a trauma-filled childhood with no gifts, very little gifts. Getting stuff from randos in the mail from Amazon was like, I was living, and I didn't care what it was. Part of is, my value proposition at the beginning of this wasn't as much commission. It was like, that stuff made me happy, even if it was stupid. I got this garden bed. I wasn't going to do anything with it, but I'm just like, somebody sent this to me. And it felt kind of cool. But and so I don't. Every once in a while, I'll still get a product, and that's pretty. I don't get the same amount of joy now. I see it more as like opportunity than whatever. I mean, to be honest, when you're talking about the influencer program thing, it's about trying to figure it out. I love that part of it. Like I always talk about this one video game on the original Nintendo called Ninja Gaiden. Gaiden. I don't know what it is, but it was really
Yep.
hard. And Ninja Gaiden was hard.
Yeah.
And I remember like that for me, I was just like, I'm gonna figure this out. And I remember just, and I eventually got it. At that time, probably maybe 9 or 10 years, maybe I was 11. I don't remember how old I was. And I was like, I'm gonna figure it out. And like I've always been so obsessed with like, there's got to be a pathway here, and I want to find it because if I don't, I'm not going to be able to sleep very well. And maybe that's a competition thing with me. Like I love the competing, like even if it's just against myself. I mean, I love the competing against other people. I like fighting for the slots in the carousel. I like seeing if I can make better quality videos. I love all that stuff. But I think that there's an angle of it for me where I'm just like, I can do this. I don't like walking away from something and feeling like I wasn't able to figure the thing out. And the program is a giant puzzle. It's a big Sudoku that just is like, you look at it every single day and you're like, is there an angle somewhere that I'm missing? Because I'm going to look for it. If there is there something that needs to be tweaked? Because if there is, I'm going to find it. I enjoy that part of the process. That's why like my favorite games to play to this day are like word games. I love stuff that makes me go like, I can figure out pretty much anything at this point, especially now that I got AI, that's sitting there that can help me with a lot of this stuff. So
Right.
I love, you know, I, as an Oink guy, people may not believe me whenever I say this, but I love the program for people can love it for different types of reasons, but I love participating in it on a personal level because of those things. Also, the money part of it has been very kind to me, but like I love the puzzle part of it. It makes my brain do a thing that not a lot of other stuff does. And blogging was the same way. How can I write articles that rank better than somebody else's articles rank? I love that whole competition part of it, whether it's against other people or against myself.
That's awesome. So taking all of those passions, you talked a little bit about maybe a misrepresentation of the program. What is one thing that you see a lot of this basically the single biggest mistake you see new or struggling influencers make with their videos? So that you and I have talked. You gave me a lot of information last week that I've been digesting. It's actually been like 2 weeks now. I think about it almost every day. What is something that you see new influencers struggling with in the whole process or just in their video? You pick.
I think the thing that the new influencers struggle with is actually the same thing that a lot of OG influencers struggle with, and it's not understanding why they are here. Like not knowing why they are participating in this program and what the point of it is when they're making their videos. And I know that you've heard me talk about this. And I probably talked about it on the audit that I did for your thing.
Yeah.
Is is there was a bit of a mindset for a while, just make videos, like, and there wasn't a lot of thought to the purpose behind what you're supposed to be trying to accomplish there. People would say it a little bit from time to time here and there, answer the buyer's questions, but there hasn't been a lot of talk about what that actually means. A lot of talk about picking products, a lot of talk about creator connections, or unfortunately for me, parent ASINs, which luckily that whole thing's kind of chilled out a little bit, but not a lot of talk about the purpose of these videos and how do you, when you're creating a video, how do you create one to serve the purpose of the program so that you make the most amount of money as you possibly can? And so that's it, is the number one mistake everybody makes, new or people that have been around for a little bit. If their videos aren't doing very well, it's typically because they made a video without taking a moment to understand what they're supposed to be doing with that video and really thinking it through. The only reason somebody's watching your stuff is because somebody's looking at a product on Amazon, they're looking at this power bank, and they looked at the listing, they scrolled through it, they read like, something's off. They're like, something's missing. They already read all the stuff. They're going to go, let me see what else I can find. Maybe one of these idiots on the carousel will answer my question for me. And they're going to look through there to see if somebody can answer the question that they have. Even if they don't know what that question is yet, they're unsettled. They're interested, but they're unsettled. Your job making these videos is to put yourself into their shoes. Remember, they're the ones that are going to decide if your video is good or not. It has nothing to do with our perception of what's good. They want answers. And if you can answer those questions, that is a good video. And so your number one priority whenever you make these videos is put yourself into their shoes and ask yourself, what's probably the main 3 questions most people are going to have about this? and do it and solve it. Like, and if you don't know what that answer is yet, don't make your video yet. Figure this stuff out. Don't just start opening stuff and make videos and say whatever you're going to say. Think about it. A lot of people are putting a lot of effort into their videos without doing this, and they're wasting their time because they're making videos for the wrong purpose, which is volume. I just need to make videos. Whatever happens, happens. But if they actually put intention behind the way that they're making their videos and who they're thinking about, who they're making these videos for, and what needs to be in those videos for them to be good, that would change a lot of stuff for a lot of people. But it's a mistake regardless of experience level. I see this all the time. It's the number one offense. If you go on any product right now and you start watching videos, influencer videos, you'll see it. Once you see it through that lens of, is this person actually being helpful? If I'm a buyer, would this video actually move my needle at all? You're going to see that a lot of these just don't. That's why even being in a carousel that can be full can still make money if you're in that carousel too, even if there's a couple of other people in there, because a lot of the other videos that are up there are not going to be answering that question that that buyer is looking for, and they're more likely to click through until they find it. So that's the number one thing, man, is we're just not putting ourselves into the shoes of the other person enough.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I think sometimes, at least for me personally, is I do want to make the videos not necessarily fast, but you have this constant flow of products coming in, and so there's this feeling like I don't want to get behind. And my wife and I do the same thing. If we have a product for a year later, we will go back and do kind of a year or a 6-month review of the product. And that video, 10 out of 10 times, is so much better because we've used it every day
Context, yeah.
for the past 6 months. Whereas like sometimes I'm literally reviewing a video 15 minutes after I've opened the box and I've messed around with it a little bit. It doesn't have the same appeal.
Well,
Okay.
let me hit something there though. You're right about the speed, because you also don't want to waste that buyer's time. You know what I mean?
Right.
I get asked this question a lot. I'm sure you do too, which is, well, how long should a video be? Right? Like if you put these things together, one, you don't want to waste their time. Two, you still want to take the time to answer the questions as necessary. There's a great quote. There's a movie called The Boondock Saints. It was like in
phenomenal.
Man, what was that 90? Was that 90? 2000, maybe something like that.
I think it was 99, 2000. Yeah, fantastic.
One of William Dafoe's absolute best performances. Not for the faint of heart, for sure, but it's a great movie. And so they go on basically the slaughtering spree of a bunch of evil people, and they're at the end of this, after they've killed a bunch of people, and the two brothers say something to their dad, because their dad was also participating, because he was also pretty bad to the bone. And they said, Dad, how far are we going to take this? And he said, it's not a question of how far we take this, but do you have what's required to take this as far as necessary? And I always think about that with these videos. When somebody says, how long should this video be? It's like, it's not about how long should the video be. It's that, do you understand this enough to make the video as long as necessary based off of what you know qualifies it as a good video? So you do want to walk that balance of not wasting the buyer's time, get to the point, but sometimes that point is going to take a little bit for you to, really kind of demonstrate and show to people.
1999 was an amazing year for film. The Matrix, this is totally off topic for those of you. I was looking, so The Matrix, Fight Club, American Beauty, Sixth Sense, Toy Story 2, Star Wars Episode 1, you could argue whether that is or not, The Green Mile, Being John Malkovich, and Boondock Saints was an undercover one that came out that year. Like, some of those are just still, I mean, we're 27 years later and they still have, they still hit. Fight Club still hits for me every time I watch it.
Green Mile, I'm surprised that was 99. That feels like a little bit of an older, maybe it's because of the time set in that movie that it was an older, but that's pretty incredible.
It's a good list. Okay, couple more questions, and then so you're working on these 4 pillars. I've heard you talk about it a couple of times. So the 3 pillars or 4 pillars of, and now you've gone down to 2 pillars of product research. When people are looking for products that they can potentially make money on, what are you telling people to look for? And how has that changed from what it used to be? Because I remember what you used to say, and it might have changed a little bit.
Yeah, but a lot of what I used to say was also before Creator Connections was really understood. Creator Connections has such a big impact that it required a strategy change of what we were doing before creator connections was a thing. You know, you had to be very, very specific on several things before creator connections was here. Creator connections has so much power behind it. You can be not as specific with your research, which actually opens you up to a lot more products. It doesn't have to be exactly this, exactly this, exactly this. I mean, the number one thing at the end of the day, when you're talking about making money, who do we make money from? Amazon. They're the ones that actually send us the money. How does Amazon make money? When a product sells. So if you look at a product and it's selling, Amazon's making money from that product already. And if it's not, I got bad news for you, broski. It's not doing you any favors. So that right there could solve the majority of influencer woes by committing more to products that are actually selling. Just look at it on the page. And if it's got a number there, then you are in fantastic shape. Because people don't realize this. The majority of products on Amazon don't sell. I mean, there's so many products that no one's ever going to know that ever exist. And so even though you do see a lot that sell, most do not, which means you're going to have a lot of opportunity to say yes to products that do not sell. What you should be doing is saying no to the majority of those things, because it's hard for a lot of people, because people feel like that they're going to take a gamble on the what if, like, well, I feel like I'm missing opportunity. What if it starts selling? But I'm going to tell you, it is much harder for a product to start selling if it's not selling at all than it is to keep selling if it's already selling. It's more likely to keep doing the thing that it's doing versus doing something new. So if it's been selling, high indicator, not a guarantee, but high indicator is going to keep on selling. And to be honest, man, everything else, I mean, and part of this is the conversations I have with other influencers, you know, between my coaching, between just chats, between my Facebook groups, whatever it is. If people just committed to that, like when I do these audits for these storefronts, a lot of them I'll look at and there's multiple things wrong. And you could start digging into each one of these things, like, well, the video count's a little bit too high, the upper carousels, et cetera. But none of that stuff really matters if the sales aren't there. And so influencers as a whole would be more successful if they literally just fixed that one thing. Like if they just committed to more products that are selling. I'd like to see them fix some of the other stuff, but they're putting the cart before the horse. They're doing too much. They're trying to fix too many other things. I'd rather see them, and my buddy Sean said this on one of an interview that I did with him last year. He's really committed to this. He's like, I'm not trying to work more, basically meaning like, why would I work on videos of products that aren't selling? That means I have to make extra videos and make less money. Why would I want to do that? And
Is he
so,
the one? Is he the one that's got like 600 videos and
yeah,
pulling almost 5 figures a month?
yeah, he had 700 at the time. He was making $7,000 a month.
That's
So
stupid.
it was
When
crazy.
people hear that, they're gonna be like, "That there's no way that's real." And I'm
It
like, I
was
remember watching that interview. I was like, "That is stupid."
it was
Like not
real.
stupid bad, just like
No,
because
dude.
I had like 12 or 1300 videos and I wasn't even making close to that much. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I got to figure out whatever he's doing.
That's why the products end up being so important that you're selecting to make sure that they fit a selling criteria. I mean, in my first month, I know you've heard me talk about this. In my first month, I made 140 videos and $2,000 in 1 month. My very first full 30 days in the program, $2,000. I was living. I thought I was going to be rich, but it wasn't because of me. It was because I happened to pick a couple of good products that fit a certain profile, and that's literally what Sean's doing. You know, Sean's just literally doing the same thing that you and I do, which is we're picking products that have a certain profile. If you're not winning in this program, but you're making a lot of videos, you're not, you got a profile problem, a product profile problem. Because if you're picking proper products, that's a lot of P's I'm realizing as they're coming out of my mouth. If you're picking the right products that actually have the right profile and you're doing that consistently, I don't see this program fail people that are consistent doing the right thing. So something that means you're probably consistent doing the wrong thing in that particular case. So that's my long answer to that question. When you're talking about, well, what does product research look like? I could certainly get into the weeds of the other sort of like nuanced things around that. But if I'm looking at the system as a whole of what's probably most broken in the strategy mentality behind the influencers, and if I could shake something into them as a whole, it's that. Stop saying yes to so many products that don't have any sales behind them.
Because I know people listening to this are going to say, okay, what's the magic number, Fizz? How I know they are, because they
I
ask me
know.
all the time,
Yeah.
what number per month should a product be selling for me to, or for them? We're talking to the audience, right? For them, what should it be?
Yeah. If you're not focused on this already, then any number is a massive upgrade. You know, like if you're somebody that's pulling, you know, if you got 55% of your products right now have a sales history and 45% do not, almost 50-50 split, and you say, you know what? I'm going to commit to a sales number, any sales number. And all of a sudden you go from, you know, almost a 50-50 split to 8 out of 10 products have a sales history, you make more money. It is going to be what it's going to be. To me, that's probably the answer. People that are not doing this, they're winging their product selection already. So simply just going, you know what, I'm just going to commit. And if there's no number there, regardless of what that number is, if there's no number there, I'm probably going to be out on this. And saying, as long as there's a number there. Now, over time, tweak that. If you don't like I've had a couple of these lately on my storefront audits where their sales numbers were a little bit too low on average as a whole. And I'm just like, maybe this is where you create a baseline number for yourself. Say maybe nothing less than 200 for that particular person in that case, right? But if you don't have a strategy for this at all right now, don't make it too hard on yourself. Just go, any number is better than what I'm doing right now. That's my advice.
You see how he didn't answer the question by answering the question? I love it because he doesn't want to get, you don't want to give it. So just to be clear, for those of you that are watching, the lowest number that you can have on that screen, I think that Amazon puts is 50 per month. And then it goes in increments of 50, 100, 200, 300, 400. Then it goes to 1,000, 2,000. It might hit like 12, 1,300. One thing that I found interesting about what you just talked about and some information I got the other night from a seller, that number is usually a little bit lagging behind the actual number.
Yeah.
It was very interesting to talk to a seller last night, or not last night, but a couple nights ago, not in this format, but okay. Quick personal question, because I think I've heard you say this before, and then we'll go with the final question. If I remember correctly, did you serve in the military?
I did not. Did not.
Okay. I thought that at one point you'd said that you did, but okay. So tomorrow, your account gets shut down. What do you do? What do you do day one?
Sob. For probably day 1, 2, 3. You know, that's certainly always a reality, right? Where something like that could happen. And we've talked about this, you know, you're playing in somebody else's sandbox. It's their rules and they can do whatever they want. Certainly, you know, trying to stick as much as you can, the best you can, to what you know the terms of service things are and all that is always a good idea. That's why, you know, it's good to know what those are, and people should go and see what those terms are so they understand what they're dealing with. Yeah, probably what I would do at that case. I mean, if they shut the account down, I've got all my videos basically saved. You know, I keep them on a hard drive. And so to be honest, I'd probably just start another account with my wife this time and actually just do another one and just start re-uploading videos again. It would be different for me this time because, you know, I've got 3,500 videos or something. I wouldn't be uploading all of them. I would look at my sales reports. People don't realize this, but on your storefront, you've actually only got a very, very small percentage of your videos that are actually making you money. A lot of it's not doing anything for you because the products aren't selling, or they're selling and you're lost in the carousels, whatever the case is. So if people actually looked at their sales reports and pulled like the top 20 converters for the last 6 months or whatever the case is, I probably wouldn't upload all my old videos. I've got them, so I could upload whatever I wanted to. But I would do that. I'd just make a new storefront. I'd get back in, and in theory, and then I'll just upload the best performing videos for that point and take the knowledge. I've always kind of said, like, if I could take somebody who was brand new to this program and take them from day one and they just did everything that I told them to do, I think that I could scale somebody up to $5,000 probably within like 3 months. But I've never tested that. I've never had that opportunity because I was in it for 2 years before, probably a year and a half before I really started making traction. And so nobody's going to let me come in and tell them what to do every day. They have to learn how to do it themselves. But it'd be interesting and I might be over thinking too highly of myself there. But that's kind of where I'm at on it, is just because I know how this program works. And so I would want to build it back up as fast as I could, right? So that's why my best converting videos go back on there. I turn right around, I start messaging brands again, and I go off using what I already know works. And I think that's what I'd probably end up doing.
Okay. For those of you that don't know, which you probably should, Rob Fizz, creator of Oink for Influencers, he's a man of the people. And if you don't know what that is, you can look it up. He also has, and we haven't talked about on this one, he also has, I would call it Amazon After Dark. He reviews items that I don't necessarily review, and that's a fascinating world
I like
because
that phrase. That's funny.
because it is a real thing and pretty lucrative
Yeah.
in the sense of those products, because there's not a lot of people doing it, so there's not as much competition, right?
Yeah, it's not bad. Even my YouTube channel, because I have a YouTube channel specifically for that. I got that one. I have my general channel where everything just kind of gets slapped in there. I don't have much high hopes for that. And then I have my fitness channel, which is fitness specific. The amount of views that I get on the After Dark channel for those types of products, I don't get a lot of subscribers. Nobody seems to want to put their name on my channel as a subscriber, but I get like it does really well. I mean, because perverts are out there, I guess they want to see all sorts of stuff. So yeah,
Right.
it is viable for sure.
Okay. So final thoughts. Fizz, you finish us off with the one thing that you would leave people that have just spent almost an hour with us talking about the Amazon influencer program and a bunch of different things. What would you want to leave people with, the final thoughts?
Yeah. Well, first off, I want to say thank you for having me on. I there's a lot of people that talk about the influencer program on TikTok, but not a lot of people listen, I think, as well as you listen to the people that have questions. And you're so well thought out. One of the things I appreciated about your input when you're talking to people is you don't pretend to know things you don't know, but you know a lot. And so you're very sort of vulnerable with people. And I think that establishes trust with people that are watching, that you're willing to say, I don't quite know, but I'm willing to figure it out type of deal. And so I just want to say thank you, because there's not a lot of other people that I think have that thing. That's why I enjoy every night whenever I start working. You're on, and that's why I hope you never think that I'm stalking you intentionally. It's just Amazon or TikTok gives it to me. As soon as I turn the thing on, it's like right there in the feed. I just like sitting there watching, and I like the way that you interact with people. So I appreciate your heart. I appreciate your spirit and the way that you treat people and the way that you listen to people. So thank you for giving me a chance to come on and hang out with you for a few minutes. If you're talking about if I was going to leave with somebody, especially because a lot of new people watch these videos, right? A lot of OGs don't. They're busy creating and doing all sorts of stuff. So there's a lot of sort of like new people and mid-range sort of people, and maybe it's a couple things. One is this thing is real. You don't have to be special. You are as a human being, but not to Amazon. You're just a person and a cog in the wheel. But that's good enough because you're in there and you're doing the work. So there's nothing special really required for you. The consistency is going to be the main thing. That's where I want people to kind of focus more than anything else. And the consistency can mean a couple of different things. It can be a time thing for you. Maybe you've got a great strategy and you're committed to it, but you're not doing it enough. Well, great strategies can't override inconsistency. Maybe you're consistent with your time, but inconsistent with your strategy. Well, that'll get figured out with your time consistency. You'll get to a point where you go, I'm doing this a lot. This doesn't feel like it works right. But typically at the end of the day, if you're not getting out of this program what you feel like you should be getting out of this program, there's most likely an inconsistency somewhere. And a lot of people don't want to hear that. They want to start looking around to figure out what's broken so they can try to fix it. Like, is it this thing over here doesn't do right? Is Creator Connections doing something? Is it kind of whatever? But there's a high likelihood that you're the problem. And I know this as somebody that has spent a large amount of time in this program being the problem, unbeknownst to myself, So when you get to that point and you look back at your commissions at the end of the month, you're probably going to want to look in the mirror and ask yourself, what am I getting wrong here? It's not what's broken with the program, is where am I off at? And the more honest you can be about how you spent your time over the course of that month. Did you actually make as many videos as you could have? Are you happy with that? Are the commissions where you want them to be? Were you committed to selecting good products? Or do you feel like you maybe winged it a little bit too much? And if you don't have an absolute answer to that, then there's a good chance you're the actual problem there. And that's a good thing to know, because if you're the problem, then you can fix it. We're all sort of doing this in the exact same way. And everybody that I know that does this, they all do it in different ways. There's no silver bullet in this program that causes everybody to win other than consistency. Everybody that I know that does this at a high level, regardless of their strategy, that seems to be pretty much different for everybody, the one thing, the common thread they have between them is consistency. So if I could plant a seed in you for anything related to, honestly, the influencer program or the affiliate program or Instagram shop or TikTok or whatever it is, it's all of it. Consistency ends up being the primary the primary theme that causes the needle to move. Everything else will fall in line if you can learn to be consistent.
That's awesome. Okay. You heard it from Fizz/Oink. You can find him on YouTube. You can find him on Facebook. You can find his extension. If you just search Oink for influencers, you're going to find it. It will pull up the first 30 or 40 results on Google. I will put a link in the description of all of the places that this is going to end up for Fizz. He is a man of the people. He's one of us, quote unquote, as an influencer, and so that's why his extension works so well, is because he's in it every day.
Hey,
Fizz, thanks so much.
can I ask you a question
Yeah,
real quick?
yeah. You can ask me whatever you want.
Before we go, you asked me if I could impart something. What about you? Like you having conversations almost nightly with folks. I think you've got your thumb on the pulse of the pain points for a lot of people, the blind spots for a lot of people. What would you impart to somebody if they said, I got 2 minutes to spend with you, I need something to take with me here going forward?
I don't want to necessarily steal yours, but one thing that I have noticed about everybody that has been pretty successful, or I can anticipate that they're going to be successful. There are new people in this program that started following me on TikTok in January, and now they're doing, $500, $600, $700 a month. You've got to have something inside of you, that competitive thing. Like, I am not going to fail at this. And if I am going to fail, it's not going to be my fault, whether that's effort, whether that's a strategy, whether that's a plan, whether that's a tool. Like, if this doesn't work, I have got to make sure 100% that it's not my fault. And if people get that far down the road, they're going to realize that they won't fail, because it's never going to be their fault, because it's usually effort, it's time, it's, okay, oh, this new show came out, I'm going to watch 10 episodes in a week. Well, maybe you just watch 2 episodes in a week and spend the other 8 episodes, and I'm not saying that I don't binge watch shows. Like, I'm not saying I don't watch movies. I do all of that. But the older I get, the more I realize that I don't have a lot of time to waste on stuff that is not helping either. And this really doesn't go to me. This is my family. We both have families. We both have kids and, grandkids, different things like that. That we really want to have a better future for. And so when you think about your why at the end of the day, is your why has got to be so deep that you're just like, these are the things I care about, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there.
Yeah.
And so that's what I would part with. So
yeah, it's funny. Both of us hit on responsibility a little bit there, right? Like what's on our shoulders. But and the flip side of that is, our destiny in a lot of ways is on our shoulders too. It's not even just about like sometimes what's going wrong, but earlier when we were talking about the pivot point and the changes and things that have happened, and looking at the landscape of Amazon tells you, here's where you can play now. We also have that ability to go, okay, I'm gonna make some things happen here myself. It's a responsibility of maybe what's gone wrong, but also a responsibility for, this is mine to take forward. They've gave me the parameters. Now I need to build. And I think that's a pretty exciting thing to have. And not a lot of other programs give you that opportunity.
There's some cool things that they're doing, right? I mean, there's the clicks now, where you can get paid per clicks. If you're gold and platinum. I think those star levels mean way more than they used to.
Sure.
Speaking of star levels, my 9 o'clock Agent Oink just clicked on a new window and just kicked off. Is star levels mean a little bit more than they have in the past. I do think, as far as Amazon in general, we won't get political here. They're a $1 trillion company. They are squeezing from a lot of different ways. But I think that they are also giving opportunities for people to grow and make money. And in the whole grand scheme of things, it's like, what we're doing is not hard work.
Yeah.
Like, it might be taxing and a little bit stressful and stuff like that, but we are not laying pipe. We are not welding this. We are not doing physically hard labor. Sometimes it's a little bit mentally hard, but the idea of recording videos and posting them for other people to see and enjoy and learn from, like, that's not a hard thing. But
But you
Yeah.
know what it is that, and I think that's why the consistency is oftentimes difficult for people to swallow. Because sometimes it's easier to look around at other things and try to say, well, these things are the problem, and it's not me. It's because consistency can be physically hard if that's where you're inconsistent is your time, and not certainly not to that degree of like working with your hands or whatever. But in this program, it's probably the hardest part is applying and dedicating time away from family, right? Away from sometimes other things that might be drawing your attention. It might be a priority, and you're like, I don't have any time left. That's hard in its own kind of unique way, right? So sometimes it's easier to spend time going, well, maybe I'll look at maybe why creator connections. Maybe something's wrong with creator connections. Like creator connections is fine. like you have to figure out some way to carve out more. And it's not easy for a lot of people, and totally get that. But a lot of opportunity in this for regular folks like you and I. It's a pretty wild and crazy thing that seems to exist. It does exist. It's just strange, and I'm glad.
It is crazy. Yeah. Okay, Rob, thank you so much. I'm going to end the recording if you want to stay on for just a second.
Yeah, man.
But
Absolutely.
thank you.